We are live.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to staff and committee members in the building and those joining us remotely. This is our Social Services Committee meeting for June 7th. It'll be followed by two of our housing meetings with a brief intermission between each. Let me ask if there are any members who have a conflict of interest on any item before us today. I see no hands. Thank you, folks. Let me ask now for a mover and seconder for everything that's before us today. Moved by Councillor Samwell, seconded by Councillor Bell. Thank you very much. And now I'll ask if members of committee wish to separate items for discussion and comment. Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, 5.1. Thank you.
5.1 is noted. I see no other requests. Emma, could you read the stuff out and we'll go to the vote on those things that are not separated.
Thank you. The items that are subject to the vote are item 5.2, Reaching Home Update Report, item 5.3, reallocation of capital funds for the 2023 capital projects, and item 6.1, the minutes from the Social Services Committee of May 3rd. Sorry, all those in favor? Thank you. That item carries.
Councillor Carpenter, you have the floor, sir.
5.1. Yes, the staff, there is funding ending in a program. I just got to go back to my notes here. So on the homeless prevention funding, there is a funding source that's ending by the province. What was that number of funding that was the program that's ending? The HPP investment plan. No, sorry, that's not it. There's two sources of funding here. One is ending this year, but we've got an increase of 1.84 million in this in the homeless funding. But the other program ends. Yeah.
Good morning. Through the chair, Mary Musson, Director of Housing and Homelessness Services. Are you referring to page 12 of the agenda package where the investment in affordable housing year 5 extension funding stream is scheduled to end in October 2023?
Well, I'm just trying to find it now. I thought I highlighted it, but one of the province's programs is ending this year, and we've got an increase in the original funding of 1.84 million.
So through the chair, one of the rent supplement programs, the investment in affordable housing year 5 extension, that is one of the rent supplement programs that is ending in this calendar year. However, through the homelessness prevention program, we are increasing the investment in the Strong Communities Rent Supplement program to make sure that those households are not impacted by that funding stream ending.
Okay, so the increased funding is more than offsets the funding that's being discontinued. That's what I'm getting at.
Through the chair, the increase is an investment by the provincial government in the homelessness prevention program funding stream. And yes, it will more than offset that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mary, appreciate that.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Vice Chair Bell, I should say. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's always encouraging to see provincial government giving us more money, and I applaud the idea of looking to see what the best way to spend that is. We should be thoughtful about it. I have a couple of questions. One is, if we don't actually spend the money, do we end up having to give it back to the province? And I say that with the experience of working in the health unit, where if we don't actually spend money given to us, there's an expectation that we deliver it back. So I hope that we fully utilize it. So I'll stop at that question and come back with more.
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. If there's any unspent funding at the end of the fiscal year, then it does have to be returned. So staff may do their due diligence to make sure that we have proper allocations.
Thank you. Through the chair. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Councillor Bell, we do plan on fully spending every dime.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Second thing, as I looked at the table 2, and maybe it's just my lack of understanding, so don't take this personally. We have $7 million to spend, and we appear to be spending $4.2 million of it on staffing. And I don't know whether that's a good proportion of the money to spend when we should be thinking, can we spend more with the end user, the end recipient of this funding? 4/7 may be the norm. Do we have any sense of whether we are as efficient and as prudent with spending on our own staffing and making the most of that money for the benefit of the user, the end user?
Through the chair, thank you for your question. And I apologize if the table is not very clear. Staffing requirements are only one part of the 4.166 million that is being spent. The remainder of that is actually being spent on the emergency sheltering system. So we're doing a strong investment in supports for individuals and families that are experiencing homelessness. So this will be used to fund the request for proposal for the emergency sheltering system that is going to be published, as well as we're going to be investing in the City of Brantford encampment network and additional community outreach and support services to support direct client service delivery and experiences.
Thank you. Do you have any numbers that would help me understand that a little better? So how much on staffing, how much on the other part of it?
Through the chair, what I can do is I can circulate a memo afterwards breaking down the 4.1 million and the allocations.
Thank you.
And if I can just, Mr. Chair, just add to Mary's response as well. This council, and there's different mixes of contracting, to your point, Councillor Bell, of contracting out and contracting in. This council we do a mix. And I think with my experience, over 25 years experience in this field, it's a good mix. This council made a conscious decision some months ago, and the previous council, about Marlene Avenue, where they're going to contract out or have our own staff do that. And many of the people from Marlene Avenue came, and sometimes the quality of service can be better with our own staff doing those sorts of work. So we'll get back to that mix, but we're about a healthy, I feel we're in Brantford, we're in a healthy mix.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Let me ask again if there are any first-time speakers before we come back to a second-time speaker. Anybody remote? No hands up. Okay. Councillor Carpenter, you have the floor.
Yeah, speaking to that comment from our CEO, excuse me, we're looking for emergency shelter contract too. Again, keeping the same comments on hand, sometimes it's best handled by our own staff. Are we going to look at all the options?
Through the chair, yes, we're exploring all of options for emergency sheltering services. So having our own staff deliver the services is not something that we would exclude as we consider everything.
I'm glad to hear that. And then we're going to put the requirements on about how the impact is on the neighborhood, where the location of the shelter is and those sorts of things. Because we've seen where the shelter is now, how the neighborhood is deteriorated because of, the shelter, just the shelter's location itself and how the it impacts the neighborhood. So that's very important. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing all of it.
Councillor, thank you. Seeing no further requests, Emma, let's go to the vote, please.
Thank you. All those in favor of item 5.1? That item carried.
Thank you very much. So that pretty much concludes our business with this meeting. We have no resolutions. We have no notices of motion. I'd like to thank staff for the reports before us today and your participation in answering our questions. We are adjourned with this one. We'll take a minute or two and then we'll proceed with the Brantford Brant Housing Corp meeting. Okay, so I see no one has taken a break, so let's resume. Roll call has been taken. I'll presume there to be no declarations of conflict of interest, as I see no hands to indicate same. No presentations, no delegations. Could I get a mover and seconder for all the stuff before us in this meeting? Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Samwell. Thank you very much. We have 5.1 and 5.2. Does committee wish to separate either of those for discussion? Councillor Miller, yes. Sorry to miss you like that. Go ahead, Councillor. Which would you like separated?
5.1, please, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We have everything moved, seconded. Emma, let's go to the question on those items not separated.
Thank you. Those items that are subject to the vote are just the minutes from April 5th, 2023. All those in favor? Thank you. That item carries.
And Councillor Miller, if you would like to go ahead, please, sir, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple questions. Start off, we see rent arrears are up quite a bit. There's one eviction listed for the last quarter. Through to staff, Mr. Chair, do we expect to see the number of evictions? Do we expect that to go up? And related to that question, how long does it take to get a hearing before the landlord and tenant? So we'll start off with that.
So through the chair, thank you. Yes, the arrears have increased. So we are reviewing all the causes and we are implementing the Housing Stability Worker Program to assist with households that are in arrears to work with eviction prevention, because we would like to prevent as many evictions as possible from any of our housing units. The Landlord Tenant Board is quite behind in hearing applications by landlords to proceed with any types of evictions. At the last time, it was at least 8 to 10 months before an application is heard.
Okay, 8 to 10 minutes. Apparently that's supposed to get better. It's a delicate balance, I guess, looking at evictions from socialized housing. Because on the one hand, we want to prevent homelessness. On the other hand, we want to pay our bills too. We have to pay our bills. We have to upkeep. So my question, Mr. Chair, through you to staff again, is do we know any sense or any information or any data on where people who are evicted from subsidized housing, do we know where they go? Do they end up on the streets, or any ideas, or do they find some other place, or any ideas?
Through the chair, we don't track individual household data with regards to that. However, anecdotally, I can say that many households do try to reapply to the centralized waiting list. And for those households, we can engage in a repayment program. As soon as they sign an agreement to work towards repaying arrears, they are eligible to be back on a service manager's centralized waiting list. There are definitely households that end up on the by name list because they are struggling with housing stability.
Okay, appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. I have Councillor Carpenter up next, and then Vice Chair Bell.
Yes. So we own 863 units.
Through the chair, yes, the local housing corporation has 863 units currently.
Yeah. So when we have concerns with the maintenance or the care or management of any one of those 863 units, could you provide us with a number to call for those concerns, or an email address to deal with those concerns as members of council and members of this committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bell, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question, and may just expose my lack of understanding. In section 6 in background, it says that the Corporation of the City of Brantford is the sole shareholder of the LHC. Will that change when the county contributes to the development of the second Trillium Way property? Will the shareholding change?
Ken, through you, Mr. Chair, actually, we're doing an internal review of that. And in 2000, when the province transferred over, it was an odd thing. They transferred over one shareholder capital to the CMSM, and we're the CMSM. We are looking at this. I personally, I just feel most of the municipalities got rid of the LHCs and made it just part of the municipality and shared. So the short answer is, Councillor, we're looking into it, and I can't give you a definitive answer right now. When we look into the corporation, we can come back with an answer for you probably in about 2 or 3 months, how that will change.
Thank you.
Councillor, thank you very much. I see no further requests to speak, so we'll go to the question on this. Emma, please.
All those in favor of item 5.1? Thank you. That item carried.
Thank you for that. Excuse me. We have no resolutions, no notices of motion, so this one is adjourned. We'll bid adieu to Mayor and members of County Council members present. We'll take a couple of minutes, and then we'll resume with the Brantford Housing Corporation meeting.
Oh, Mr. Chair, before we go, can I ask one quick question?
You certainly may, Councillor.
Just this is the last meeting until September, is that correct? Or
August is our next meeting, Councillor.
August? Okay,
Yes.
okay, that's what I needed. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Bailey, if it's an easy question, you may ask it.
It's very easy, Mr. Chair. I'm sure you'll be able to handle it. I'm sure attendance has been taken for this meeting, but I have no idea who's here. I see a lot of, just Brantford participants. Could you let me know who's here from our committee, please?
We have Councillor Carpenter, Councillor Bell, myself, Mayor, remind me, Davis, thank you. Councillor Sikoli and Councillor Samwell, and remotely we have Councillor Oakley, Councillor Celeste, yourself, your worship, and Councillor Miller.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, see you guys. Well, we have everybody here. Let's proceed with the Brantford Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation Board of Directors meeting. Roll call is evident. Any conflicts of interest, folks? I see none. So a mover and seconder for all the business before us. Councillor Samwell, Councillor Sikoli, thank you very much. Items for separation. Anyone? Any items to be separated? Councillor Carpenter?
Yes, the number 4.2.
4.2, thank you very much. And no other requests, so we'll go to the vote on the remainder, please, Emma.
Thank you. All those that are subject to the vote are item 4.1, 2023 Annual General Meeting of the Brantford Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation, and item 5.1, which are the minutes of May 3rd. All those in favor? Thank you. That item carries.
Councillor Carpenter, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Brandon Meadows had a deficit. And he said it was for shortage of funds. What was that from? Yeah, on page 4, it shows the deficit for Brandon Meadows is $7,618. The Beckett building has a surplus of $56,000. That was savings from lower than expected maintenance costs. Brandon Meadows just says deficit as a result of less revenue than expected, and an increase and an increase in utility costs. Do these balance each other off? Is that how we work that?
Good morning, Donna Kirschnock, Manager of Housing Operations. I'm sorry, could you please again be more specific about where you're reading this information from?
Ken, I'll try to.
Thank you very much.
That's Brian. On page 4, it talks about the Beckett building have a surplus of 56,243. And on page, and then just below that says Brandland has a deficit of 7618. Of the report 2023-64, I believe that's what Councillor Carpenter is referring to. So.
That's the other one, but he separated the report. So he separated.
I think there's some confusion what report was separating where the question's coming from. So we're just is that what you're referring to, Councillor Carpenter? That page 4?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the other report. Twenty.
Sorry, Counselor. Judy Moore, Manager of Financial Analysis. So the question, the reason why I was having a hard time finding it was that was page 4 of the report that was already approved, not the one that was separated.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We can still answer that question. Sorry. So now that I found it, can you just repeat your question? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it showed a deficit. It showed a surplus for the Beckett building and a deficit for, now I gotta go back to it, excuse me, for this, the smoke in here is getting my lungs. Brandon Meadows, $7,618 deficit. I just wanted to have an understanding where that deficit was from. It does say some of it's from increased utility costs. It doesn't say where the rest of it is.
Yeah, the rest of it is actually from a result of less revenue that was received at Brandland Meadows. I'd have to go back and find the details of exactly what makes up that loss of revenue. If you could just bear with me, or I can
Oh,
get
no,
back
that's,
to you with it.
yeah, an email later on would be fine. Thank you.
I can do that for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And you're welcome for the latitude, Counselor. I see no other requests to speak. Counselor Sless, I didn't overlook you, did I? Okay. Emma will go to the vote.
Thank you. All those in favor of item 4.2? Okay, that item carried. Thank you.
No notices of motion, no resolution. I could probably do that with the microphone on again. Thanks very much. We are now adjourned. We had no notices, no resolutions.